Hello, welcome to Late Night Creations. I'm Kendra. I'm so glad you're here. Today in this video, I'm going to show you how I made a farmhouse kitchen decor piece for just a little over $3. I stopped in at Dollar General and popped over to the spring decor section, and I found these little pieces for $1 each. What a great buy, and they were cute on their own, but I just spruced them up a little bit, added them to some wood, and it's super cute. The wood was scrap wood. You can find scrap wood lots of places. Just keep your eyes open. This came from our church, was doing a remodel, and I asked the pastor, could I take the scraps? And he told me help myself, take as much as I wanted. That was great, because I took as much as I wanted. They had just cut the end pieces off of the wood, and the pieces are all the same length, so I don't have to cut anything to make the pieces match. And I'm telling you, if you know anybody that's doing a remodel, or you know somebody that works in construction, just say, hey, can I come by and pick up your scraps? Some of the smallest little pieces can make the cutest tiered tray, little decor pieces. So keep your eyes peeled for scrap wood, and you can make the greatest, cutest pieces. So go ahead and get ready to hit that thumbs up and the subscribe, and let's get busy crafting. Okay, here we have our 3 pieces of wood that, like I said, I picked up from scrap wood at the church. I sanded them all. Now I'm going to use this antique wax from FolkArt, and I'm going to put it in this little dish that I get at Dollar Tree. I'm going to spray a little water in it to water it down. I like a pretty thin consistency. I used a little thicker consistency on this project just because I didn't water it down enough, but sometimes if you water it down too much, it makes the wood a little wet also. So I also will use an old t-shirt and just kind of wipe off the excess. Use it like a stain, but you don't get the smell of the stain or have to wait for it to dry. This dries really fast. And I just use an old soft t-shirt, like one of my husband's undershirts. When they get all old and worn out, then I just cut them up and use them for scraps in my craft room. So I'm going to do all the sides of this, all 3 of these pieces of wood, and I think it is a really pretty color, and you can still see the wood grain through, and I really like how this looks. And just do it a little bit at a time, and I just kind of take my time. I've got this in fast motion so it doesn't look like I'm taking my time, but I'm just taking my time. Those end pieces where the wood has cut and it's kind of that raw inside part of the wood is a little more difficult because it's a little more porous. I probably should have sanded that a little bit more, but it looks fine because it's a farmhouse piece. It's supposed to look a little bit rustic. So I did all of those. These are the little decor pieces I picked up at Dollar General for $1 each. And like I said, they were cute on their own, but yeah. So I'm going to show you how I got that. I tried to sand it, but it didn't work out too good. So how I got those words off, I just used a little alcohol and put it on a piece of paper towel and just rubbed until it came off. It came off really easy. On the pig, I tried to sand it, so I kind of created a little mess. So that's why it looks different. Now, I thought I was going to use a little painter's tape under there and protect and try to paint it while it was on there, but then I flipped it over and saw that those staples would come out really easy. I just used a pair of old tweezers that are a necessary tool for me in crafting. I use them all the time for various different jobs. So I just removed these little animals from their coop, and yeah, some of them were a little more difficult to get out than others, but they really came out pretty easy. So I just removed those staples and got those little decor pieces off so that I could paint them without getting that wire all painted, because I'm kind of a messy painter. you will see at the end that I have paint all over my hands. And yeah, I'm a really messy painter. I don't even really try to be that neat. So I'm going to use this sheepskin paint. I'm not even really sure who that's by. I can't see on the bottle while I'm looking at this either who this is by. I'm thinking this is a Waverly chalk paint, sheepskin. And I'm just going to give it a good coat around the edges and across the top. They're already kind of this color, so one coat is all it took. And I do like to finish the edges. If you like that look and you don't want to finish the edges, then don't paint them. But they are kind of a pain to paint because it's like I said, it's very porous and it soaks up the paint. But I still only did one coat. It only took one coat to cover it, so it actually turned out really cute. Now I'm just going to take these little hangers off because we are not going to need them on there. And they came off super easy. They're just on there with those same little staples that the animals were stapled on with. So I took those off, and of course I'm going to save that wire for another project. And this is my favorite FolkArt in Rich Black. That other paint in sheepskin that I used on the animals was also FolkArt. It was not Waverly, it was FolkArt. This is already black, so I'm just giving it a quick, simple coat of black on there. I'm not trying to go over those edges. It was kind of dull. It just needed a little facelift. Now I've got Waverly chalk paint in mineral, and I'm going to do a dry brush on the animals. I did all three of those frames in black. I just didn't show you that I did them. I didn't want to bore you with all the painting. But these little animals, I'm going to do some dry brushing around the edges because I think it makes them pop, almost makes them look like you've outlined them. And so I like for them to have that little look. You can do it however you want to, but I like to dry brush it, and then I dry brush a little bit to give them a little bit of dimension, so it just doesn't look like a flat piece on there. I think the little details are what just makes handmade crafts stand out. Like I said, the little pieces that come from Dollar General, Dollar Tree, they're cute on their own, but when we put our little special touches, personal touches on them, that's what makes it look, oh, that's cute, right? And then you can say, I made it. And I'm going to glue them back on, but it's kind of hard with that wire because you don't have a lot of actual space to glue it to. Oh, before I glue it, let's do a little white chalk dry brush on the edges of this frame. I buy this white chalk paint in Rust-Oleum in, a pint can or quart can. I'm not sure what size it is, but I buy it in a big can and I pour it in that little jar so that, I just use a little bit at a time. Now I'm taking a small piece of paper towel and I'm just wiping off just kind of buffing it, really. That's kind of what that does. Just kind of gets all the little bumps and ridges off a little bit. So now I'm getting all the dust off of my transfers that I cut out probably cut these out on my Cricut. I have 2 cutting machines. I'm very blessed to have 2 cutting machines. I have a Solo by StarCraft and I have a Cricut Maker. No, I don't. Let's see. I have the Cricut Maker. And so I use them both. The StarCraft cuts out more detailed, small stuff. I love it for that. It does a lot of things, but that's what I love it the most for. So I'm just weeding out what we don't want, making sure that I keep the little dot for the eyes. I'm just going to cut it a little closer so I can make sure I'm putting the right words on the right animal here, so that I can make sure that it fits right. And then I'm going to grab my transfer tape And I love the Frisco Craft Transfer tape. It is awesome. My friend Wendy over at White Sparrow Living, I don't really know her personally, but I feel like I do. I've watched her for a long time do DIYs. She's amazing. If you want to go check out her channel, she turned me on to the Frisco Craft Transfer tape. I will leave her channel linked in the description box below because she is an amazing crafter, an amazing Christian woman, and I just love to watch her videos and her crafting, and yeah, I like her. So here I'm just, putting the vinyl on the transfer tape and then transferring it to the little animals, and then just peel the transfer tape off. And you see I'm using that same piece of transfer tape for all of these because I'm a frugal crafter. I don't like to waste. So if I can use something over and over, I am going to. So I've got all the right sounds on the right animals. That would be something I would do, is put the wrong one on the wrong words on the wrong animals because I'm in a hurry or not paying attention. So now I'm going to show you that it's hard to get the glue on there because you don't have a lot of space. So here I go with my little scraps of fabric. This is some little muslin fabric I had, and I'm going to just glue it on the back so that it sticks good. And then I'm going to snip it so that none of it shows around the edges of the animal. Make sure that it, it's hidden. And there you go. It's pretty simple. So I'm kind of holding it, making sure it's centered, and then flip it over. Well, I messed up. I dropped it. So I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to hold it in place and put my glue on, put my fabric on. So then it's going to hold it for me. Then I can put some more on there and get all those little strips of fabric glued down on there. I love my Surebonder glue gun. It's great. The glue sticks are great. I love it. I love my little pink silicone finger protector. I get those at Dollar Tree. They come several in a package. So I've had them for a while too. They last. They also really work good if you're like trying to separate papers, or you need to pick up a lot of papers or go through papers. It helps you to be able to pick up the papers because it's kind of a rubber tip, fingertip, just in case you ever need to do that. So I do not know why I decided to show you that I'm going to do all three of these, but just in case you wanted to see all three of them. I'll clean up my mess because, I'm crafting in a little small space here while I video. Now here's my wood that we stained, and I'm trying to figure out which side of it I think looks the best. And then I'm going to take another piece of my t-shirt, and I have some wax on there, some paste, but I'm going to show you shortly what I'm using. This is finishing wax by Min Wax. This stuff is amazing. I've had it for probably 3 or 4 years, and I still have that much left, and I've used it and used it and used it. So it doesn't take very much, and it just gives it a nice finish. It's a matte finish. It doesn't take very much. I mean, you can put as much or as little as you want on there. I don't use, a whole lot. If I'm doing furniture, it's a different story. I did my whole piano and my coffee table for sure with that can, and I've done a lot of craft projects. I did a large piece of furniture for my Sunday school room that was a TV armoire that I bought and redid, and so that's how much I've been able to do with that little can. So now we're going to glue these little frames and try to center them the best I can. Now I just like to eyeball it. You can measure it if you want. As So let's hold it down. You can already see how messy my hands are from painting. Oh, I'm a mess. So we're going to do all 3 of these. I'm just getting all the messy little crumbs, I call them, off everything. I'm putting quite a bit of little glue on there. I don't know why I didn't do any wood glue, but I felt like the hot glue would hold it good, I guess, because these little frames have some paper on the back of them. So I think that they should hold just fine with this hot glue. And I only did the ends. I didn't do it all the way around the edges because this is not something we're going to be using. It's just going to be hanging or sitting. I mean, it's thick enough that you could sit it instead of hang it. But now I'm going to use some wood glue and some hot glue too in these. I'm kind of just sizing it up right here to see exactly what I want to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to use some wood glue. I'm thinking this one is out as I fumble it. Would not be a good football player. Then I'm going to use my little craft stick or popsicle stick, whatever I have handy, to kind of smear it a little bit so it doesn't come oozing out the edges. Just a little bit of hot glue for a quicker hold. And then the wood glue is going to be more of a permanent, more firm hold. So make sure it's all straight and even, and of course I'm going to get my body in there and push it. And there's my little pink tool I picked up at Dollar Tree that's a weeding tool actually, but I use it it's my multi-purpose tool. Okay, I'm really loving the way this is looking, so I decided to use a little different technique this time. I'm going to make little circles. So I'm going to put some wood glue and then some hot glue in between. I just, there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to why I do the things that I do. But, yeah. So here, use my body to push it together. Oh, man. I told y'all I'm extra. So here it is. That's it. It's all done. I really love how it turned out. So now here's these hooks I tell you about all the time. I get them on Amazon. They're sawtooth hangers. This is a large one. Just going to hammer the edges in. They're super easy to put on. They stay in. They're like magic. And they'll hold heavy stuff. This is pretty heavy actually. These are 2x6s. And so, yes, I always sign our artwork. I love to sign my artwork. And so I have these little decals that I make and keep handy. So when I finish something, I decide where I'm going to sign it. We call this my signature. So I press it down in there. Here I go with my tweezers again, because I can't with my fingernails actually pull that up, that transfer tape. So there we go. I love how it turned out. There you go. There are my messy hands.